Well, Randy, Brianne, it was just seconds after this explosion that the streets were flooded with people. Those that I talked to say they heard fire alarms going off for several minutes here before they felt that explosion. And you can see over my left shoulder, a hole has been punched in the warehouse here at the Petroleum building where that explosion took place.
It was enough to shake our garage doors.
It was just a big rumble.
Sirens and fire alarms filled Franklin Street Tuesday afternoon as crews responded to an explosion at Heritage Petroleum's warehouse.
It was a strong, very strong explosion. You feel the ground shook. I walked out to the street here and could see a lot of black smoke coming from the building.
Those at work along Franklin Street witnessed the blast firsthand.
When the explosion happened, the whole side of the building flapped up, and that's probably a 20-foot long wall.
Officials say one person was rushed to the hospital after suffering burns in the blast. Investigators determined sparks from a torch ignited fuel on the ground, causing a petroleum truck to explode.
We were nervous that it was something that was going to be like a chain reaction. You know, we didn't know if it was a gas explosion or if it was just like a singular thing.
In the seconds after the explosion, Scott Wainman says it was a rush of people worried about what was happening.
And that being a chemical plant, I was worried about further explosions. And I ran outside and started directing traffic away from it, and then that's when all the first responders came.
Several onlookers say firefighters were on scene within minutes, climbing to the roof to contain the fire.
We all came out of our office. Everybody's looking at each other, kind of freaking out.
But those initial moments of unknown were enough to cause panic on Franklin Street. Have clarity on what caused the fire and the eventual explosion. What we are still waiting to learn is an update on that person that was injured. Officials tell us they suffered serious burns and were rushed to the hospital, but that is all we know right now. Randy Briand will send it back to you live in Evansville. Jordan Yaney, 14 News.
All right, Jordan, thanks a lot.
Yeah, and JC's out there as well. We couldn't hear from her earlier, but I think she can hear us now. So, JC, you have the nuts and bolts of this situation. Can you walk us through exactly what happened out there today?
Yes, Brianne, I can, and I can hear you again, thank goodness. When I spoke with fire officials earlier today, they said that they were initially called to a fire here at Heritage Petroleum just before 2 this afternoon. We also know that one person was being treated for burn injuries and was transported to the hospital. I was also able to speak with the battalion chief of this investigation. He says that the explosion happened when an employee went to take the fuel tank off of a truck and sparks from his acetylene torch ignited with fuel that was on the ground. Investigators say they were also worried at one point oil would mix in with the nearby runoff water, but they were able to contain it. Lead investigator Eric Gentry says overall it could have had a much worse outcome.
Luckily, the individual that was inside at the time has a history of working with this equipment and the acetylene torches, and he was able to get out knowing what was in store.
Well, like Jordan said, we still do not know the extent of this person's injuries, but we will keep you updated when we learn how they're doing. So with that, I'll send it back to you guys. Reporting live in Evansville, JC Caldwell, 14 News.